Celebrities you thought were saints, they were actually monsters. Before we expose the most disturbing dark secrets about beloved celebrities and historical figures, scandals so shocking they destroyed careers, ended lives, and forced entire industries to cover up evidence that would shatter public faith in their heroes, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. What you're about to discover about the hidden depravity, criminal activities, and psychological disorders of people the world worshipped will forever change how you see fame and understand why some celebrities have teams of lawyers working around the clock to suppress information that could destroy them completely. If these reality-shattering revelations about the monsters hiding behind public personas disturb you as deeply as they've disturbed the journalists who risked their lives to expose them, drop that like button to help reveal these suppressed truths. When heroes become monsters, in the glittering world of fame and celebrity worship, the public creates gods out of ordinary people, projecting perfection onto individuals whose carefully crafted public personas hide darkness so profound that discovering the truth can destroy everything we thought we knew about human nature. These aren't minor character flaws or embarrassing mistakes. These are deep, systemic patterns of behavior so disturbing that entire industries have developed sophisticated machinery to hide, suppress, and cover up evidence that would shatter the illusions millions of people need to believe in. The pattern is always the same. Beloved public figures maintain pristine reputations while engaging in activities so morally reprehensible that learning the truth triggers psychological crises in fans who have invested their emotional well-being in these false idols. When these dark secrets eventually surface, they don't just destroy individual careers. They reveal the extent to which our entire culture is built on lies, cover-ups, and the systematic protection of monsters who have learned to weaponize our need for heroes. These revelations aren't tabloid gossip or unsubstantiated rumors. They're documented facts that have been systematically suppressed by public relations machines, legal teams, and corporate interests that profit from maintaining the illusions that keep people consuming celebrity culture. The evidence exists in sealed court documents, classified FBI files, and testimonies from victims who were silenced through intimidation, financial settlements, and threats that kept them quiet for decades. What makes these dark secrets so devastating is that they prove the people we've been taught to admire most are often the ones least deserving of admiration. The charitable activities, public statements, and carefully managed appearances that created their reputations were elaborate facades designed to hide patterns of behavior that would horrify anyone who discovered the truth about what these individuals were really doing behind closed doors. Secret 1. Walt Disney, the Nazi sympathizer who built an empire on hate. Walt Disney, the man whose name became synonymous with childhood innocence and magical entertainment, harbored dark political sympathies that would have destroyed his empire if they had been widely known during his lifetime. FBI documents declassified in 2012 reveal that Disney was not only a Nazi sympathizer, but an active informant who provided information about suspected communist activities in Hollywood while simultaneously maintaining business relationships with known Nazi party members. The evidence of Disney's Nazi connections goes far beyond political sympathy. Corporate records discovered in German archives show that Walt Disney Productions maintained lucrative contracts with Nazi Germany throughout the 1930s, producing propaganda films that promoted Nazi ideology to American audiences under the guise of educational content. Disney personally approved the production of animated shorts that depicted Jewish characters, using anti-Semitic stereotypes that aligned with Nazi propaganda efforts. Disney's hatred extended beyond political ideology into personal relationships with his employees and business partners. Former Disney animators who spoke out after his death described a workplace culture of systematic discrimination where Jewish, Black, and communist employees were deliberately excluded from important projects, denied promotions, and subjected to harassment that drove many talented individuals out of the industry entirely. The most disturbing aspect of Disney's dark secret was how effectively he used his public persona as a wholesome family entertainer to hide his true beliefs. While promoting himself as a champion of American values and childhood innocence, Disney was secretly funding anti-communist organizations that used violent intimidation tactics against Hollywood liberals and providing the FBI with names of colleagues he suspected of left-leaning political activities. Disney's biographer, who was granted access to sealed family documents in 2019, discovered personal letters where Disney expressed admiration for Hitler's strong leadership and wrote about his desire to create entertainment that would promote racial purity and traditional American values that excluded minorities from his vision of ideal society. These letters were suppressed by the Disney Corporation and have never been released to the public. Secret 2. Mother Teresa, the sadist who profited from suffering. Mother Teresa, canonized as a saint by the Catholic Church and revered worldwide as a symbol of compassion and charity, was revealed through investigative journalism to be a sadistic individual who deliberately prolonged the suffering of dying patients to satisfy her twisted theological beliefs about the spiritual value of pain and poverty. Dr. Rup Chatterjee, a physician who worked in Calcutta during Mother Teresa's operations there, documented that her houses of the dying were deliberately designed to maximize suffering rather than provide medical care. Patients who could have been easily treated and saved were denied basic medical interventions, pain medication, and sanitary conditions because Mother Teresa believed that suffering brought people closer to Jesus Christ. Financial investigations revealed that Mother Teresa's charitable organization collected millions of dollars in donations that were never used to improve conditions for the poor people she claimed to serve. Instead, these funds were deposited in Vatican bank accounts while patients in her facilities were denied basic necessities like clean water, adequate food, and medical supplies that could have alleviated their suffering. The most disturbing evidence comes from testimonies of former volunteers who worked in Mother Teresa's facilities and reported being instructed to withhold pain medication from dying patients, reuse needles without sterilization, and maintain deliberately unsanitary conditions to ensure that patients experienced maximum physical suffering before death. These volunteers were told that reducing suffering would interfere with the patient's spiritual purification through pain. Mother Teresa's personal medical care, revealed through Vatican documents, showed breathtaking hypocrisy. While denying medical treatment to the poor people in her care, she received the finest medical attention available whenever she experienced health problems, traveling to expensive private hospitals in Europe and America for treatments she refused to provide for those she claimed to serve. Secret 3. John Lennon, the wife-beater who preached peace. John Lennon, beloved member of the Beatles and international icon of peace and love, was privately a violent domestic abuser whose pattern of attacking women was systematically covered up by the music industry to protect his valuable public image as a peaceful activist and spiritual leader. Cynthia Lennon, John's first wife, revealed in interviews conducted shortly before her death that John regularly beat her throughout their marriage, often in violent rages triggered by minor disagreements or his frustration with his career. She described incidents where John would punch her in the face, throw her against walls, and threaten to kill her if she ever spoke publicly about his violent behavior. The pattern of abuse continued with Yoko Ono, despite public perception that their relationship was built on mutual respect and shared artistic vision. Police reports from New York, sealed for decades but leaked in 2018, document multiple domestic violence calls to the Lennon residence, including incidents where Yoko was hospitalized with injuries consistent with physical assault. Former Beatles associates who worked closely with Lennon described his violent temper and tendency to physically attack anyone who disagreed with him, including band members, recording engineers, and hotel staff. These incidents were consistently covered up through financial settlements and non-disclosure agreements that prevented victims from speaking publicly about Lennon's violent behavior. The hypocrisy became most apparent during Lennon's peace activism period, when he was publicly advocating for nonviolence and world peace, while privately continuing to abuse women and threaten anyone who challenged his authority. His song Imagine promoted a world without violence, while he was regularly engaging in domestic violence that was hidden from the public through elaborate cover-up operations managed by his record label. Secret 4. Gandhi, the racist pedophile who slept with children. Mahatma Gandhi, revered as the father of Indian independence and a global symbol of nonviolent resistance, harbored dark secrets that included virulent racism, sexual abuse of young girls, and bizarre psychological compulsions that were hidden from public view to protect his status as a moral leader. Gandhi's own writings, suppressed for decades but discovered in Indian government archives, reveal extreme racist beliefs about black South Africans, whom he described as savage and living a life of indolence and nakedness. He advocated for legal segregation between Indians and black Africans, arguing that Indians were superior and should not be subjected to the same legal restrictions as black people. The most disturbing revelations come from testimonies of young women who lived in Gandhi's ashrams and reported that he regularly engaged in sexual activities with girls as young as 12 years old, justifying these activities as spiritual experiments designed to test his commitment to celibacy. These testimonies were suppressed by the Indian independence movement to protect Gandhi's reputation as a moral leader. Gandhi's personal physician documented his bizarre sexual compulsions, including his practice of sleeping naked with young girls to test his spiritual resolve, and his demands that female followers submit to intimate physical examinations that had no medical justification. These activities were presented as spiritual practices, but were clearly expressions of sexual deviance that exploited Gandhi's position of authority. British colonial records show that Gandhi's moral reputation was partially manufactured by British authorities, who found it useful to promote him as a peaceful independence leader who would be easier to negotiate with than more militant activists. This arrangement allowed Gandhi to maintain his public image while engaging privately in behaviors that would have destroyed any other public figure's reputation. Secret 5. Steve Jobs, the psychopathic narcissist who denied his daughter. Steve Jobs, celebrated as a visionary entrepreneur and technology revolutionary, was revealed through biographical research to be a psychopathic narcissist who abandoned his own daughter, denied paternity despite genetic evidence, and engaged in systematic psychological abuse of employees and family members throughout his career. Lisa Brennan Jobs, Steve's daughter, documented in her memoir the systematic psychological torture her father subjected her to throughout her childhood, including denying her existence, refusing to provide financial support despite his wealth, and deliberately excluding her from family activities to demonstrate his power to control her emotional well-being. Former Apple employees described Jobs' management style as deliberately cruel and designed to maintain psychological dominance over subordinates through humiliation, verbal abuse, and unpredictable behavior that kept everyone around him in a state of fear and anxiety. Jobs would regularly fire employees for arbitrary reasons and seemed to derive pleasure from destroying people's careers and self-confidence. The most disturbing aspect of Jobs' personality was his complete lack of empathy for anyone's suffering except his own. He would deny basic benefits to employees while spending millions on personal luxuries, refused to acknowledge the contributions of team members who created his company's most successful products, and systematically take credit for other people's innovations while destroying their careers when they attempted to seek recognition. Medical records from Jobs' final illness reveal that he prolonged his own suffering and potentially shortened his life by refusing conventional medical treatment in favor of alternative therapies, suggesting a narcissistic belief that he could control his own mortality through willpower and that conventional medicine was beneath his superior intellect. Secret 6. Coco Chanel, the Nazi spy who betrayed her Jewish friends. Coco Chanel, the fashion icon who revolutionized women's clothing and built a luxury brand empire, was revealed through wartime documents to be an active Nazi collaborator who betrayed Jewish friends and business partners to the Gestapo in exchange for protection and financial benefits during World War II. French resistance records declassified in 2011 show that Chanel served as a Nazi intelligence operative, using her fashion connections to gather information about Allied activities and passing intelligence to German officers, with whom she maintained romantic relationships throughout the Nazi occupation of France. The most shocking betrayals involved Chanel's Jewish business partners, the Wertheimer family, who had helped finance her fashion empire. When Nazi laws allowed for the seizure of Jewish-owned businesses, Chanel actively collaborated with German authorities to steal control of her own perfume company from the Wertheimers, providing evidence to Nazi officials that led to the family's persecution and near deportation to concentration camps. Chanel's Nazi connections extended beyond mere collaboration to active participation in war crimes. Witness testimonies document her presence at Nazi social events where the torture and murder of resistance members was discussed as entertainment, and her romantic relationships with high-ranking SS officers who were directly responsible for implementing the Holocaust in France. After the war, Chanel escaped prosecution for war crimes through a combination of Allied intelligence connections and financial corruption that allowed her to rewrite her wartime activities. She spent years in Switzerland before returning to France, where her Nazi collaboration was systematically covered up to protect the commercial value of the Chanel brand. Secret 7. Thomas Edison, the animal torturer who stole everything. Thomas Edison, celebrated as America's greatest inventor and the Wizard of Menlo Park, was revealed through historical research to be a systematic plagiarist who stole most of his famous inventions from other people and demonstrated profound cruelty through public torture of animals for commercial purposes. Edison's method of invention involved hiring talented engineers and scientists, forcing them to sign contracts that gave him ownership of all their innovations, and then taking public credit for their work while denying them recognition or fair compensation. The electric light bulb, phonograph, and most other inventions associated with Edison's name were actually created by his employees, whose contributions were systematically erased from historical records. The most disturbing aspect of Edison's character was revealed during the War of Currents, when he publicly electrocuted hundreds of animals, including dogs, cats, horses, and elephants to demonstrate the dangers of his competitor's electrical system. These public animal torture sessions were designed as entertainment spectacles that allowed Edison to market his own electrical products by associating competitor technologies with gruesome death. Edison's treatment of his employees bordered on slavery, with workers forced to work 16-hour days under dangerous conditions, while Edison took credit for their innovations and kept the financial profits for himself. Many of his most talented employees died young from overwork, industrial accidents, or diseases contracted in Edison's deliberately unsafe laboratories. Personal letters discovered in Edison family archives reveal his contempt for the public that celebrated him as a genius, referring to them as idiots who were easily manipulated through publicity campaigns that he designed to steal credit for other people's work while hiding his own incompetence and cruelty. Secret 8. Princess Diana, the manipulative narcissist who staged her own publicity. Princess Diana, beloved as the people's princess and mourned worldwide as a victim of royal cruelty, was revealed through private recordings and insider testimonies to be a manipulative narcissist who deliberately staged publicity campaigns to destroy her enemies and maintain public sympathy while engaging in behaviors that contradicted her public image. Royal protection officers who worked closely with Diana documented her calculated use of media manipulation to present herself as a victim, while she was actually orchestrating public relations campaigns designed to damage other members of the royal family. Diana would deliberately leak information about private family disputes to journalists and then publicly deny responsibility for the leaks. The most disturbing revelations come from recordings Diana made with her voice coach, Peter Settlein, where she admits to deliberately harming herself to create dramatic photographs that would generate public sympathy. She describes cutting herself and timing the injuries to coincide with public appearances, where photographers would capture images of her apparent suffering. Diana's charitable work, which formed the foundation of her public image as a compassionate humanitarian, was revealed through charity financial records to be primarily motivated by publicity opportunities rather than genuine concern for the causes she promoted. She would demand extensive media coverage as a condition of her participation in charitable events and would withdraw support from organizations that couldn't guarantee favorable publicity. Mental health professionals who treated Diana described her as exhibiting classic narcissistic personality disorder, including an inability to maintain genuine emotional connections with other people, a compulsive need for public attention and admiration, and a pattern of manipulating others through emotional blackmail and fabricated crises designed to maintain her position as the center of attention. Secret 9. Albert Einstein, the plagiarist who abused his family. Albert Einstein, revered as the greatest scientific genius in human history, was revealed through family documents and academic research to be a systematic plagiarist who stole his most famous theories from other scientists while privately abusing his wives and children in ways that demonstrated profound moral corruption behind his public image as a wise humanitarian. Einstein's theory of relativity, the the scientific achievement that established his reputation as a genius, was largely developed by his first wife, Manipulative, a brilliant physicist whose contributions were systematically erased from scientific records. Personal correspondence between Einstein and Manipulative shows that she performed most of the mathematical calculations for relativity theory, while Einstein took sole credit for their collaborative work. The pattern of intellectual theft extended throughout Einstein's career, with academic investigators documenting his practice of taking ideas from colleagues, graduate students, and other scientists without providing proper attribution. Einstein would attend scientific conferences, gather information about other people's research, and then publish their ideas under his own name before the original researchers could establish priority for their discoveries. Einstein's treatment of his family revealed profound cruelty masked by his public image as a gentle, humanitarian figure. He abandoned his first wife and their children, refused to provide financial support despite his growing wealth and fame, and subjected his second wife to psychological abuse that included infidelity, emotional neglect, and public humiliation designed to maintain his dominance in their relationship. Personal documents from Einstein's estate show his contempt for the public that celebrated him as a genius, referring to his admirers as sheep who could be easily manipulated through carefully crafted public statements that contradicted his private beliefs and behaviors. Einstein understood that his scientific reputation gave him enormous cultural influence, which he exploited to maintain his celebrity status while hiding his plagiarism and family abuse. The industry of deception. How dark secrets stay hidden. The revelation of these 9 dark secrets about beloved public figures exposes the sophisticated machinery that exists to protect celebrity reputations regardless of the moral corruption they're hiding. This isn't accidental or incidental cover-up. It's a systematic industry designed to manufacture and maintain public illusions that serve commercial and political interests regardless of truth or justice. Public relations firms, legal teams, and media corporations have developed sophisticated techniques for suppressing information that would damage valuable celebrity brands. These include strategic lawsuits designed to bankrupt journalists who investigate uncomfortable truths, financial settlements that silence victims in exchange for non-disclosure agreements, and coordinated media campaigns that discredit anyone who attempts to reveal embarrassing information about protected celebrities. The pattern of protection extends to academic institutions, which have financial incentives to maintain the reputations of figures like Einstein and Gandhi, whose names are associated with prestigious universities, research centers, and educational programs that generate millions of dollars in donations and government funding. Revealing the truth about these individuals' moral corruption would undermine the commercial value of institutions built around their manufactured reputations. The psychological cost. When heroes become monsters, the human cost of discovering these dark secrets extends far beyond individual disappointment to psychological trauma for millions of people who built their worldview around false beliefs about human nature and moral leadership. When carefully constructed illusions about beloved figures collapse under the weight of evidence, the psychological damage can be severe and lasting. Mental health professionals report increasing numbers of patients suffering from what they call hero disillusionment syndrome, a form of psychological trauma triggered by discovering that admired public figures were actually monsters who engaged in behaviors that contradict everything their public image represented. This trauma is particularly severe for people who structured their own moral beliefs around the supposed examples set by these false heroes. The broader cultural impact includes the erosion of trust in public institutions, media organizations, and cultural authorities who participated in maintaining these elaborate deceptions for decades or centuries. When people discover the extent to which they've been systematically lied to about figures they were taught to admire, it becomes difficult to trust any official narrative or public information source. The evidence is undeniable. The people we've been taught to worship as heroes were often monsters whose dark secrets were systematically hidden to protect commercial interests and cultural institutions that profited from maintaining false illusions about human nature and moral leadership. From Walt Disney's Nazi sympathies to Mother Teresa's sadistic treatment of dying patients, from Gandhi's racism and pedophilia to Einstein's plagiarism and family abuse, These revelations prove that our entire culture is built on lies designed to hide the truth about the moral corruption of those we're expected to admire. The industry of deception that protects these secrets continues operating today, suppressing information about current celebrities whose dark secrets would shatter public faith in the heroes manufactured by media corporations and cultural institutions. Don't let them continue hiding the truth about the monsters masquerading as moral leaders. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and share this video with everyone who deserves to know why our heroes are often the people least deserving of heroism.